What's going on, everybody? You found Bottom Tier Collector, and I'm your host, the Bearded One. As always, thank you for liking, subscribing, commenting on my content. It's always much appreciated. And today, I want to cover a comic book I read in my collection, Darker Image. About the most 90s thing you can look at. You got, big muscles, big guns, you got a little butt hanging out of a dress, blonde hair, big appendages on women, claws, black, the color black everywhere. Everything you can think of. And this is more or less an advertisement, a teaser, an infomercial, a commercial, whatever you would wish to call it, for three different characters created by Sam Keith, Jim Lee, and Rob Liefeld. The character right here is Deathblow. The character right here is Bloodwolf. And the character down here is Max. And this is how should I say this? It has little teaser stories of each character. And so the first teaser story we get is Max. Again, Max is the purple one down here. They don't reveal much in Max. It's a very vague issue. You only know the character is called the Max because if you put yourself back in 1995 or whenever this came out, you wouldn't know that this character's name is Max. You would just have to deduce, process of elimination. His name's Max. But, now that it's 20, 30 years later, we know that his name is Max. It's a very vague story. Max wakes up. We assume he wakes up. That's kind of how the story starts. And he's checking his appendages, checking to make sure he's okay. He hears this chuk 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 sound in his brain. Not sure, that's not very explained. But he hears the chuk 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 in his brain, and he just knows everything's all right because everything is working as normal. He begins running and runs into a godlike creature called a Rhett Quarton. I think that's how it's pronounced. Kind of like a big, fat, blobby warthog humanoid creature with a big hammer, pretty much naked except for a loincloth. Kind of weird. And he's running through a wheat field, and he's trying to avoid getting smacked by this hammer. We kind of learn that these Rhett Quartons are from the God Clan, and they're basically immortal. And then Max escapes. He swings into this woman's house, and we're taken into a different scene of her restoring him back to health. That's really all we get from the Max story. Very vague. Don't really know what's going on. And I ended up reading on Wikipedia a little bit about Max, and I don't really want to explain much here. If you've never read Max, I would leave it up to you. If that sounds interesting, what I just explained, to go read more on Max. Personally, after having read kind of the synopsis of Max, it's basically a fantasy series, and it's just not for me. I'm not big on Sam Keith's art. He's not the worst artist, but he's got a very unique style, similar to a Simone Bisley, and it's just not for everybody, and it's not for me. I've got some other Sam Keith books, and I just could care less for the art. Except for Sandman, he did do good in Sandman. Outside of Sandman, just not a fan. The second story we get is Bloodwolf right here. And Bloodwolf is essentially, the reason I picked this book up is for Bloodwolf. And the reason why I like Bloodwolf is he is Image's Lobo, pretty much. And they go after Lobo. Lobo is in this issue. He's not named. It's kind of a faraway panel shot to kind of avoid copyright infringement. But it's Lobo. He kind of walks by Blood Wolf in one of the panels. But essentially, it's cut and dry action movie type story. Blood Wolf is on a mission to Praxton 9, and he enters Praxton 9, finds his target, blows his head off, and there's gunfighting on his way out. In the midst of the gunfighting, we see Cable. So there is shots taken at Lobo and Cable by Rob Liefeld. Rob Liefeld created Blood Wolf. So shots fired, pun intended, at Cable and Lobo. And then Blood Wolf, of course, gets off planet and blows it up. We also learn that his bike, his space bike, like Lobo, but unlike Lobo, Blood Wolf's space bike is a big, huge gun that he uses to get rid of a lot of people shooting at him on his way off planet. And that's really the gist of Blood Wolf. And then we get Death Blow, and then the teasers are just fast paced. I mean, I was running through this book, and then I get to Death Blow, and it just kind of screeches to a halt. We get a big character piece story here about Death Blow. We see Death Blow in the middle of a mission, and he goes rogue. We don't know he goes rogue at the beginning of the teaser, but he shoots the guy he's working with, kills him, and completes the mission, I believe. And then we're taken. He's in the jungle, so it's like a warfare, like Punisher War Journal type story. But we're taken back to like Washington D.C. and we see generals and lieutenants and commanders talking about Michael Cray, Death Blow, and how he's dying. I think I read up on Death Blow. I think he's dying of cancer. That may be revealed in the teaser. I'm not sure. And then so Washington D.C. is going to send a very special elite force to where Michael Cray is at, and they're going to hunt him down and kill him. And then we get a to be continued. I really thought Death Blow had promise. I don't know, after reading that, I don't understand why Death Blow didn't last very long in comic book history. I thought it was a very interesting story. A soldier that went rogue and he's dying of cancer, and then Washington D.C. is now going to wipe him off the face of the earth. I thought it was a very intelligent read. It wasn't something just of the 90s. I thought it was something, reading it, I thought it was something that could, at least sustain a little bit of success over time. But, like a lot of things that were created in the first wave of Image is like Spawn and Wildcats and Youngbloods, maybe Prophet, I can't remember. There's that first wave of Image, and this is kind of the second wave of Image Comics. The new batch of characters coming to Image. And like everything that came in the first couple of waves before they really went independent and really went more what they are now, when they got away from the 90s, all their 90s properties just kind of went away, and we really only have Spawn anymore these days. And we've got Savage Dragon, but it's who reads Savage Dragon anymore? I mean, I think the only reason Savage Dragon is still in print is because Eric Larson wants it to be in print. I'm not sure it makes money. Just kind of disappointing to think about Death Blow kind of falling away to the times, to the 90s. I might pick up some trades of Death Blow. All in on Blood Wolf for sure. I loved that issue. It's just my kind of issue. I love space action adventures. It just, for me, probably stems from my love of Star Wars, maybe. But, I don't mind that he's taking shots at Lobo. In fact, I love it. Too bad Blood Wolf and Lobo didn't get to square off, officially under a licensed comic book. I loved the Blood Wolf story so much. I already had Blood Wolf #1. I went ahead and read Blood Wolf #1 right after I read the teaser, and I loved it. I enjoyed it. Now, it's not, 90s comics on for everybody, but, me being a huge Lobo fan, it's just right up my alley. Big guns, big muscles, heads blown off, bad guys actually dying. We don't need a lot of dialogue, a lot of goofy, over-the-top concepts, and, a little bit of science fiction thrown in there, and that's all you need. It's all you need for a good comic, in my opinion. Max, again, I'm not too keen on Max. Probably won't be reading any more Max in the future, especially after reading the Wikipedia stuff. But I know Max has seen success. I think Max even teamed up with Batman here in the last 5 years. So Max even got an animated series. So of the 3 characters, Max is still around, hanging around out there. But for the most part, this is just a product of a time gone by. Image is no longer doing stuff like this anymore. From what I hear from a lot of older heads that were around at the time, The Walking Dead really changed Image. And they became something else, after The Walking Dead. And, now we see a lot of these short miniseries like stories coming out of Image now. A lot like what you see from the rest of the indie comics. Nobody really does ongoing stories anymore. That seems to be, the ongoing run seems to be an old man thing. That doesn't seem to be something the new current hip comic book reader wants to be into, which is sad. I'd like to see more ongoing books in the industry. You've even got Marvel and DC, who are, that's really all they do is ongoings. They don't even do them anymore. I mean, yeah, Nightwing just hit 100 issues, but when you really think about everything DC's doing right now, they don't do a lot of ongoings. I mean, you get maxi series, but 12 issues ain't nothing. 12 issues is a blink of an eye in the history of comic books. Yeah, one day I'd like to see Blood Wolf come back. I'd like to read more on Deathblow. Maybe Deathblow comes back. Who knows? But that'll do me, guys. This was a book I read. I'm in the middle of something. I got chest congestion. I hope I don't have strep throat. Something's going on that's putting this frog in my throat. And then it's making my voice real gravelly. Maybe I'm hard to understand. I hope I'm not. But that's not going to keep me from getting behind the camera and talking to you guys. If you enjoyed this darker Image, Sam Keith, Jim Lee, Rob Layfield, Max, Blood Wolf, Deathblow. Till next time, guys.